Hey, over here. Yeah, it's Bryce. Me over here. Come here. Hey. Hey, welcome in. I'm getting so dumb with these intros, I feel like. But hi, welcome to episode 13 of Scholarly Sidetracks, on a show made to showcase the wide variety of avenues a person can take after high school, as well as normalize all the speed bumps and detours we take. I've brought on today Caleb Whitney, college track star and financial advisor. Most of us have had some experience with sports in some capacity, whether it's just playing it on your own with mom, dad, friends, family, or full-blown athletics in high school and college. And we'll be able to get another perspective here from Caleb on what it takes to navigate being an athlete and a student at the same time. Well, welcome in, everyone. Thank you for coming on to this episode. Today, we're bringing in another one of my high school friends. So this will be fun, a little kickback to way back when. We have ourselves Caleb Whitney. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. Now, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, do you have like a title or like a 30-second, here's me, this is why I'm cool, I think?
Yeah, sure. I went to high school at Bryce, but I went to Weber State in Ogden, Utah. I went to college for 6 years, and I was on the track and field team. So that's basically my whole identity.
That's my bag.
We'll get to that part later, but did pretty well with that. I work for Fidelity Investments currently, and I'm also a part-time track and field coach with Weber State. So I'm married for nearly 5 years now. Me and my wife are having some fun trips this year.
Nice. Going
out to Europe for the first time.
Ooh.
Well, excluding England. I don't know if any of that makes me cool, but
it's good enough. I mean, how many people get to go to Europe? You know, it's a fun little trip to go do. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it's on the top of my mind.
Good deal. So we'll work our way up towards being track coach and Fidelity Investment person guy. So we go back a ways. We're in high school. Is it there that you're like, man, I know that I'm going to be one day an investor guy and in track, or one or the other, or neither?
I did not do very well of like goal setting, planning in high school. I definitely wanted to make money, and I kind of felt at that time I didn't really care what I did as long as I made decent money. So I think my financial journey kind of starts later, actually, when I'm in college already. But definitely track and field, that really started when I was like 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
My dad did track and field. All my older brothers and sisters did at least some little bit of track and field. And there was the Hershey's, Pennsylvania sponsored track and field meets. You have to be at least like 28 years old to even know what I'm talking about.
It's no longer going, is what you're saying?
Yes, I think they still do like school sponsored track meets throughout states and whatnot, but there's not like as far as I'm aware, a national level for high school competitors aside from a few small meets. No, not high school, elementary school, like 14 years and young.
Oh, okay.
But my second year doing that in third grade, I qualified for the long jump. I was the best jumper in the 5 states of my region. So that's Utah, Nevada, California, Arizona, and Hawaii.
Oh.
So I was best jumper out of those group of states, and I went to nationals in Hershey's, Pennsylvania. Took 4th place out of the whole nation, including some parts of Canada. So kind of at that, I knew, I had some athletic ability.
That's a good, like, oh, hey, maybe.
And proved it in track and field back starting since I was 9 years old. So that was kind of the beginning of my track and field journey. Just did it all the way through high school, and eventually kind of made a little bit of a name for myself
In what way? Were you still third place in Hershey Hoop Blah Blah, or what were some? Go ahead. You can toot your horn a little bit. Like, what'd you do in high school track wise?
Well, surprisingly, I never set a school record, which, sometimes I wish I could have, but I don't really care about that anymore.
That's the past.
I did track and field my freshman year, nothing special. I did a 400-meter race and the high jump, long jumps, and javelin. I was just kind of experimenting, seeing what I should do. Eventually, like 2 years later, I started hurdling. My jumps kept improving, and I ended up being state champion in the 110 hurdles, and the 300 hurdles. I was a runner-up, second place in the long jump and high jump my senior year, and that's 3A competition in Utah. So a little bit down from the highest competition: 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A. I guess 6A didn't exist back then. So,
and those were just like population denotations, right?
Those are all just population. The largest 6A, I think most of those schools probably have nearly 2,000 in a graduating class.
Hot dang. In the what? Not even just in the school, like just the class?
The school is probably closer to 2,000 to 3,000. And then the graduate,
crap,
probably like 600 kids or something like that. Whereas our school, 3A, we had 300 to 400 graduating class with 12 to 1,300 total.
Nuts. Some people are like, the numbers go that big? Yep, there's even worse, probably.
But even as 3A, I was able to compete with some of those larger schools, 6A, 5A kids, and I did not have the best hurdle time out of the state my graduating year, but I did win like the state championships where all the best hurdlers are, at least in the bench. And with all those performances, I was able to acquire a scholarship for track and field up at Weber State. I kind of picked Weber State because our high school coach, Tiffany Hogan, she was our high school coach for 4 years, and then she got hired on at Weber. She kind of helped me communicate with the coaches there and secured a good deal for myself. So definitely thought I wanted to go to college. I was probably thinking it was a good path to choose. Everybody's kind of told that. So if I was getting paid for, then yeah, I'm going to go to college.
So you say like it was full ride or like just tuition off or?
Technically, I did get full tuition just through my academics. And then the track basically paid for not all my books, but all my fees. They gave me a monthly stipend, just a few, basically $100 a month, just to help with living expenses. And then after a year or two, I kind of lost half of my academic scholarship, so track just kind of covered the rest of that as well. Really nothing special as far as scholarship wise goes, but for Weber State level, I would say I probably had the 5th best scholarship out of everyone on the team.
Hey,
at that point in time. Some kids, really the level would be how much money are they going to pay you each month. That's how you could tell.
Like, we all got no tuition, but how much are you getting a month? Hey, what are you getting?
Yeah. And it's always like, oh, don't tell your employees, or don't talk to each other. Don't tell each other how much we pay you. It almost has like that same vibe where it's like, oh, so how much are you getting? Oh,
wait, mine's a secret. I ain't telling you.
Yeah. High school was great. It was a little lonely going up to college. I didn't know anybody that followed me up to Weber State. So I had to make new friends, and that was a whole new challenge.
And did you know when you were applying / that freshman year that you were going to go into, I assume finance was your degree?
I would say it was probably about 1.5 to 2 years before I really narrowed it down. My first year, I think I ended up deciding I would want to do some sort of business degree. And then probably about halfway through the second year, I had narrowed it down to either economics of some sorts, maybe accounting or finance. Then probably just every 6 months when I had to sign up for classes is really when those decisions started happening. Picked finance. I honestly don't have a good reason for that. This, that's where the money is.
It just sounded like it'd be good.
And so it is an interesting field. And, I have a degree in finance and I have a degree in business economics. The difference between business economics and economics, a normal economics degree, is one class. I thought that was funny, but I actually did end up being really good at accounting. I was an accounting tutor for about a year. I helped out other athletes with their accounting homework, basically.
Nice.
So that was one of the part-time jobs I had through college. But that's kind of one topic I would like to bring up, just like working through college as well. Because I didn't have enough money to pay for rent. Obviously we've got car expenses, phone bill, things like that. My parents would pay for my car insurance and my phone bill. And then I was kind of on my own from there. So I worked part-time really the entire way through college, all 6 years. And I definitely feel like that helped me build a resume as well that helped me get my current job. So, they probably would have given me a chance with 2 degrees anyways. But working at Walmart helped me do that. Working on campus, those are my 2 jobs I really had through the years. At first, I was a tutor on campus occasionally, and then I worked at what they called a study hall for student athletes. It's basically just a little building designed for the student athletes. They can come, have a snack, study. There's a computer lab space for them. Just kind of a little perk of being a student athlete. So I worked in there, and I would check people in, name, all right, you're in. And then I would do homework for 3-4 hours. So I would say that job got me through college. I wouldn't do my homework without that job.
It's nice to have those, we'll call easier jobs, or like multitaskable, shall we say. That's a better way of phrasing, where you can take care of, you pop over here, do a little bit of the work, and take care of your own work, and just have everything balanced out for you. That's nice.
Perfect. Basically forced me to do 3-4 hours of homework 2 to 3 times a week. So that is what got me like a B plus average through college. So.
Hey, not too bad.
And not too bad. Well, I would like to know, do you have any questions so far? Any things you'd like to know more about?
Yeah, I guess 2 things. The first one is kind of in the vein for anyone else who's like in high school, and we'll just speak on track athletes, obviously, for this scenario. Is there any kind of... How should a track athlete of any tier, let's say they were only JV and they only did, well, however good, but they still want to do track, or they've done really well, they got their school records and they're going to get a full ride. How should one try to navigate what schools are any good for that, if they will enjoy a certain coach or anything like that? How does one kind of vet that whole world?
I could definitely answer that question, but I will say, kind of to reaffirm, why you're asking the question. When I was in high school going through that, I was clueless, and I probably should have, and this is the things that I'll tell you to do, but emailing coaches, going on to the school's website, finding the coach's email because it'll be on there somewhere, and just sending them an email, reaching out to people, being outgoing, working for yourself, promoting yourself is so important. And your skills, your times will promote you to some point, but if you have a school in mind that's not in your state, email that coach because they might not know who you are. I did that very poorly. I probably talked to 4 or 5 schools in total, and only got an offer from 2 D1 schools. And I really just blame that mostly on my lack of initiative. But, even if you don't think you're a top tier athlete, reach out to schools, whether it be D2, D3. And if you want to do track and field, I think there's a place out there for you if you can find something that works.
So as far as like getting into schools as a track athlete and being, I guess, more or less accepted onto the team, do you kind of like send them in your qualifying times at certain meets? Do you just do you do like an audition of sorts on there, or how do you like get a coach to be like, yeah, you're good enough to be here, cool, come on in?
Yeah, I would say the process happened with me. First of all, my coach put me in contact with the coach Weber, but there wasn't really, or I would say the vetting process was probably easier for me. I had a coach vouching for me on my behalf, and so that was definitely a huge benefit. Sending them even videos of your competition. I don't know, maybe if you're a distance race and it's
here's my hour-long video.
care to see that? Maybe they do, but a video is super nice. When I coach high jumpers, just looking at video, you can really get a feel for an athlete, at least in the aspects of, okay, does he have room to improve? Is there outright something that I can see in this video? Oh, I could fix that. I could fix that. He's got some natural skill. He's got some natural explosiveness, something like that. So video is super important. Just your stats. It even had there's certain websites out there that will help you, connect with people who are scouting. And so setting up a profile, putting videos on that page, putting stats on those pages, links to track meet results, and then, having like a little resume, and you send that link to all these coaches so they can check out your profile.
That's pretty cool. Have your own little, here's all of me. It's like having your gigantic expanded, instead of a baseball card, it's my track card.
Right. It was just it was like a LinkedIn page, but for high school athletes. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool. And so then the second thing is, it's funny because how some things are very visceral for me. When you were talking about being in college and working at the at the athletes tutor center or whatever,
yeah,
pissed me off. And not because it's you working there. I am one of maybe a few people who, and I'm going to ask you your opinions on this, being on the other side, going through college, the big baby, the ones that get taken care of out of college, are the athletes. So when you hear, and the U of A here has one too, and when they built that, drove my ass up all 7 walls around me, that you're like, oh, so they get full ride or, tuition off for being here. They already are liked more than everyone else. Their programs get all the money and state of the art. Oh, and they also get their own fucking building for getting tutored and stuff. No one else really does. And I'm only speaking this out of anger because I know that some people get that, rightly so sometimes, that they're going to be a lot swayed that way. And so I'm curious on your opinion as being a college athlete. Did you feel like, oh, I'm just walking through the rivers of gold and everyone fucking loves me? Or did you recognize any of that kind of privilege or anything that you'd like to talk about in that vein?
I will definitely say, I don't know if spoiled is the right word, because there's probably different levels to it. And there's almost like a mini culture within that as well, because, I don't really know if normal students would see me and see an athlete. I definitely had Weaver State gear on. You could see me wearing a track team jacket. I would like to think we weren't conceited and thought we were better than everyone else. I certainly didn't really think so. Or maybe if I did think so subconsciously, I wasn't trying to brag about it, but I definitely understand the idea of, oh, these guys, they're lazy, or at least, in school wise, they don't care what they're just here to put on a show, or they're here to, on a scholarship, they're taking advantage of this system, blah, blah, blah. And I almost feel like there's that mini culture where, to be honest, most football teams in D1 schools get a lot of benefits, and their scholarships are so significantly more than other athletes. I was certainly blessed. I have no complaints. The school takes very good care of the student athletes. There's lots of benefits to being one. I definitely feel like it's almost like a privileged class at the university, which it probably shouldn't be, or there should be more taking care of normal student body. I definitely felt like there's almost like another level to it. There's like levels to it within the student athletes themselves. At least maybe the track team. I don't know about all the other teams, all the other sports, but you look at the football program and you think, holy crap, these kids are...
Look at their stuff.
When we have to share a weight room, football team decides the schedule, and then everyone else can fill in the gaps. When it's the middle of spring, they're not even in season. They are running out onto the field. Balls are coming onto the track. It's the middle of our season. We're trying to practice, prepare for important meets, and the football team's getting in our way a little bit. It's not too bad, but they have practice field that they don't even use, 2 practice field that they could use instead. Little things like that create some tension between the different classes within the student athlete culture, I would say. And so there's, maybe some animosity there. You could probably hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to be like, there's not all these levels. Not that I'm saying it's fun that you got your gears grinded, but it's funny that there's a dynamic to where the football guys are, hey, yeah, fuck you, little track, whatever. Yeah, you guys are just running around. We got a ball. Like, ours is better, It's all athletics.
Right. And I could arguably say, and not trying to my own horn, but was probably the best athlete on our men's track and field team for my last few years. And my scholarship was, just the athletic wise, was half my tuition and fees and whatnot. And then I got paid $100 a month stipend for the 8 months of the year we're in school. Probably the average football player, and I can't know for certain, but they're probably on a stipend that is between $500 and $1,000 a month. So that allows them, at least for the most part, to not have to pay for like things like rent or some of the other expenses. Basically allows them to just do football, and that's their part-time job. They earned it. That's kind of getting them to survive through school. Good for them. I got my $100 a month, and then I go home from track practice, I make a meal, and I go to work for 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes I would work till 1 a.m. and then have to be in the weight room at 6:30 the next morning. I did that for like 2-3 years. I've maybe averaged 5 to 6 hours of sleep for a few years in college. And as athletes, they're always telling us, get 8 hours of sleep, get 8 hours of sleep.
You guys won't let me.
You really can't. It's such a balancing or juggling of, social life, school, work for money, and family. It's really an impossible juggling game. And so even though we are benefited so much by being a student athlete, I would say there's different degrees of, how much a person can take from the system and, make it easier on themselves, or whatnot. So
it's not a clear cut, like, once you become an athlete, then life is just fantastic and easy forever.
yeah. But certainly blessed with certain privileges that the university helps out with. So I definitely say, I took advantage of it, and, rightfully so. But
if anyone could, why not?
right. So, but I do feel like there can be some disconnect between the average student and the student athlete.
Yeah, especially just talking with other classmates in the past, in my case of like, specifically when it comes to the arts, because it's all school. It's not like university is the only perpetrator of this. There's every level of education. You get rid of the arts, and then you get rid of the history, and then the science, and then the football, the basketball. But I like the balls, and they go in the hoof, and I like I gotta watch the game. You never ever lose that, with some exceptions, maybe like liberal arts schools. I can't speak in that vein, but like the common experience people have is, they're the least scared group. They don't have to worry about getting cut. They get kind of the first measure of money, and so it can be irritating for some who, maybe they aren't good at sports. They never tried. They just don't have the talent, they feel like, or never got told that they did. So they just never went through for it. So they're like me at the time. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm in band and I'm in stagecraft. Those are pretty cool. But half our machinery doesn't work or is busted. And we're trying to get some new instruments, but whatever. We got this rusted tuba from the 1940s. It'll work, I guess. It's fine. Just don't cut yourself on it. But I digress. So
yeah,
you're in college, you're doing all the 7 different things you're trying to do in life. And is there like a moment or a class or something that inspires you to, whether it's specifically working as an investment advisor type or something in that vein, was there like an aha, oh, this is what I should do? Or did you just kind of fall into it?
There was probably a bit of a mixture of it, falling into it as well as kind of choosing path. And I would say finance kind of is broken into 2 different sections. Really, what's focused on in college is corporate finance, at least where I went to school. And the corporate finance is essentially analysis of corporate financial statements and using that analysis in future planning. I did not know that. I really thought, finance was more geared towards investments, investing services, financial institutions that provide, brokerage or other types of service. There are some classes that cover that material, but I feel like I myself have always been good with like strategy. I don't know how to expand upon that, but I almost felt like, investing is, so strategic. I explored things like day trading, options trading, cryptocurrency, and learning about those. I thought they were kind of exciting. During COVID, actually, I started doing these call and put options on things. And because the market was so volatile at that point, maybe they were lucky guesses, or maybe they were slightly informed, good luck decisions. But I turned like $200 into $2,000 at one point. Nothing really significant, but I felt, like, oh man, I figured out the system.
10 times turnaround.
And so I feel like that definitely kind of pushed me towards the financial world. I don't really think I was sold on it really at one moment, but it kind of just grew on me. And I thought it was interesting, at least the investment side of the financial world. And then I told people I did 6 years, so I worked towards my first bachelor's degree, which was finance, at which point because of the way my track and field worked, essentially, there's years that if you're injured, or I guess you don't have to be injured, but you can redshirt, which basically means you sit out, you don't compete that year, and then the year of eligibility. And as well, when COVID happened, they basically gave everyone an extra year of eligibility because, the year was basically, wow.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing 6 years of track and field, which is longer than average. And then after my first degree, I had to decide whether I would do an MBA or some other master's program, or if I, maybe just work on a minor. I figured out I could take 6 more classes and get a double major. So I picked business economics. I felt like economics was kind of like the theory behind the strategy. So I thought it was interesting. I had one great teacher. I had a lot of great teachers, but one teacher who really he had such an enthusiasm about it, economics, and I feel like he influenced me quite a bit. His name was Alvaro La Paz Guerra. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's from Spain, works at Weber State still. So that's kind of what led me down that path. Fidelity investments wise, I had heard of them. I knew they were a big company, obviously a brokerage firm, and I applied to a few different jobs, but Fidelity was kind of the quickest to getting back to me. I probably honestly should not have settled for that, but I was just happy to get a job. And, it's been interesting. I've learned a lot. I wouldn't say I love it, but I like
to. You're fine with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I like to use the knowledge. I use like a third of the knowledge I gained in school in this job. So
that's pretty good for a lot of people.
I guess so, actually. Split between the 2 degrees is probably like half of the finance degree that I use. And then I don't really use the economics degree or the corporate finance part of the degree.
So for those wanting to get into the world of finance, is like just like a bachelor's degree normally involved? Do you need like a double or a master's to be kind of entry level?
You do not need anything. A high school degree be entry level, really. Okay. The job I have, or that I started with, Fidelity, I have 2 bachelors and 30 people were hired with me. 8 of them had a bachelor's, maybe. Oh. So, I was way overqualified for this position, but just the way that their hiring works and their system, that'll help me move up in the future. But starting position is kind of, everyone's kind of stuck at that entry level unless they're either licensed in some of those securities license. There's things like the Series 6, Series 7, SIE, and the 63, Series 63. So if I had been licensed, I probably could have gotten a much better job initially. But Fidelity basically paid us to study for 40 hours a week to pass those exams for like 3 months. So I took advantage of that, and they've definitely been a very good learning place. They have a higher turnover, I would guess, because a lot of people come in, they get licensed, or they fail and they get quit or get fired. It really just depends on your determination. I met, a pharmacist who knew nothing about finance. English was her second language, and she got licensed. She figured it out, and she did the job for a few months, and then just decided it wasn't for her. But anyone can start into finance if they really want to.
So from what you could tell, if it's that woman versus you, like you both start at that same entry level, one comes in with nothing essentially, and you come in with your double degree. in theory, you could both start there and both have a successful time, but your degree should hopefully get you faster track for any promotions or getting bounced around to higher positions is the idea.
I would say the degree gives you the eligibility to apply for some of those higher promotions. Not in a one-for-one substitute, but it's probably a little bit of a substitute for a lack of experience. So,
Gotcha.
but he's got 5 years experience in the financial world, but no degree. And I'm here with 2 years of financial experience with 2 degrees. I would say I'm barely above him on the higher ability scale for a promotion.
That's good for anyone who's, considering the yin and yang to it. Because, for some people, if they're able to get like cheap or even free college, which isn't a lot of people, but if you can, cool, that could be a good avenue. But if you're going to be spending, let's say $10,000-$15,000, let's say you're out of state or you got an expensive in-state, which it can get way worse for those like in California, it goes up to 40, 50, whatever, but you understand. $15,000 a semester, you might be sitting there like, well, how am I going to really get the benefit out of that? And so it's good to know that it can be a benefit to you. If you want to just get into it, if you're like antsy enough, well, I guess I know you only have the perspective of going through the education side, but if it's like me and I'm like, I want to go into finance, what would be some pros and cons you would say to why I should get a degree and why you might say, I don't know that you need it or anything like that?
Having a degree certainly, this is well known, but it gives you a little bit of a status where whether the employer cares or not, they can see this person went to college, they can dedicate themselves at least a little bit, get a degree, and that shows at least some level of responsibility, maybe work ethic. So obviously, a little bit benefit there with really any employer, I'd say. But to be honest, as far as my job goes, passing those certification exams was significantly easier for me because I was familiar with everything that was on that test already. Whether I knew all the answers, no, of course I didn't. I still had to study a lot. But in comparison to someone who's not familiar with financials at all, if you're dedicated enough, focused enough to pay attention, study, learn those things, you don't need a degree to work in the financial world. My wife's mom is an accountant who makes great money, and she does not have a degree. The degree is important for corporate finance. Let me be clear. For an investing job, working in that side of the degree, you really don't need it to start out. I would recommend trying to find a job, get into the business, give yourself some exposure, and then, a lot of companies will have reimbursement for tuition, things like that. My company, they will help pay off your student loans. And so if you can go through a little bit of college while trying out the job first, I think that's a better idea. Figure out first if you even like that type of job, if grasp the concepts enough, but that's kind of when if you're interested in it or not. But, you take advantage of your workplace benefits and help yourself by letting them pay for some of your schooling if you don't have the benefit of a scholarship.
Good deal. So then for you, Caleb, what's the future hopefully going to look like, or what you think? What job do you have involved? Do you go back for an MBA? Do you even care about that? Anything?
I'm definitely open. I wouldn't say I'm set on one path. I am leaning towards the path of being actually a track and field coach and not really having anything to do with finance. So I've been a part-time jumps coach for Weaver State. This year was my first full part-time. The previous year, I was a volunteer coach. I did, you know, 5 hours a week as a volunteer, but they saw some improvement. They brought me on as a part-time coach. I've had almost every one of my jumpers have personal bests this year, so they've improved to some degree, which is a good sign. And then I had one girl take third place at our conference meet, which is like our championship for the 9 schools we compete against. That's really how we're measured. Our success is measured.
As a coach.
As a coach.
The conference thing is what you mean, measures the school.
Right. Measures how well we've done, basically.
Gotcha.
So, and I would even say, if the head coach were to fail at these conference meets, that's when their job's on the line. So I've done well with that, and they want to hire me as a full-time coach next year.
Hey.
Budget for that, it sounds like, is kind of up for debate. So there's kinks to work out, but as far as it looks, I will be working part-time finance instead of part-time coaching.
Hey, that should be a nice little switch in a way. You get to work more in what I would assume is more of a passion to you than not. You mean you've given the impression that you do like or are interested by finance. It's not like you feel. I haven't gotten the impression of like, oh, I'm just drudging it and hoping I get out of there. But I'm sure track is more entertaining.
And you get to hang out with young people who are energetic. They're passionate. I'm passionate about the sport too. Doing it for basically 12 years now. I've learned so much, and I feel like I can help others. I feel like I can communicate to the athletes, in certain ways that will help them do better. I'm still looking to improve my ability to do that. I've got some more things to learn for sure. Not perfect. I have good marks in a lot of events because I did decathlon, multi-event. I did literally 14 different events. So my expertise varies in each one of those, but there's certain ones that I really feel confident in my ability to help somebody improve. And I've kind of shown that this year. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
So for those who might consider doing coaching or not quite sure what makes a good coach a good coach, in your experience for yourself, we'll say, is it your own ability, like how well you've done in track and being like, okay, this worked well, let me try and get other people to do that? Or has it been like past coaches have been good to me, so I'll just cats in the cradle regurgitate kind of what they do? Or what, in your opinion, has been part of the success to you being a good enough coach to keep bringing on from volunteer to part-time to eventually full-time?
I would say it's kind of a conglomeration of knowledge and kind of ability. So I definitely use all the experience I have. I've had several different coaches. I've participated in so many different drills, and I've heard coaches, giving cues to athletes. I've, experienced the frustration of stagnation, not improving. And I feel like I kind of take, some from previous coaches. I've taken probably the majority of it is personal experience. Sometimes, you're long jumping and, experimenting with the way your jump works, whether it's the coach helping you or you just figuring it out, can vary. I feel like in my position, it was more me figuring it out and trying to help other athletes implement those noticeable things that helped. You take an event like long jump and it might be hard to break it down into different parts, but landing, the jump, the run up, you can break these things down. I would almost say I do not use very many other coaches' drills. Obviously there's only so much you can do with
the human body moves only so many ways.
Right. And so, I'm not original, but, I'm adapting to each athlete, which I would say is really important. You watch each athlete, they're each different. Sure, you can have like a plan for the day, a plan for the week, a plan for the year, but I feel like being able to see somebody and make real-time corrections, real-time adjustments, real-time help. I feel like that's kind of something that I've noticed has been the really big help. And I really just think a combination of the experience, watching pros do it to semi-pros all the way from high school. You can see things, you can, point out ways to improve. Just feel like I have developed the ability to explain something and in a way that the other person can understand it and implement it.
Well, good. You talking about that brings up a more of a personal question, a more of a curiosity sort of thing. So how may you, if not currently or in the future, handle you may transition, as any coach could, to being what some may call just a trophy holder, where you may only ever care about your top few people. And the only reason I'm saying this is because of my own personal experience with coach we had, whether you have the same opinion or not, that's not what we're going over. But to have a coach who only cares about the ones who are doing well and wanting to spend your time on them all the time, to make them the best. How do you personally, if you do, like maybe you are, I'm not like attacking you right now. Maybe you only get to work with it. I don't know the structure of the coaching there. Maybe you are the work with the top guys. Who knows? But how would you as a coach try to take care of your whole herd of cats, even though some of them are freaking tigers, they freaking rock it, and some of them are choking on the milk that they've been given, like they're just not great, they're part of the team, like they're good enough to be there in some fashion, but I hammer it into them and they just can't get anywhere. How do you personally worry about any of that?
I would say really only this year is my first year really being exposed to things like that. Being exposed to trying to make those decisions, and kind of almost seeing it come out of myself naturally and then realizing, oh, was that?
Whoopsies.
I would say in high school, at least, there shouldn't really be that favoritism. There definitely is. I saw it. I was one of the, my last 2 years, I wasn't always in that position, right? So I started at the bottom and I made it there. But, I definitely felt like coaches pay less attention to some of those athletes, the younger ones, when really some of those people can blossom into being amazing athletes later on if they just get the attention they need. And so I try to always keep that in mind. I try to see the potential within the athlete, not judge them. I'm trying to help them. They're on the team for a reason. They got recruited for a reason. They've obviously shown some sort of skill and potential at least at this point in college. And so I would just try and always keep that mindset, that, I had potential and I got somewhere could not have believed how far I came. And everybody, has some potential. I try to really help everybody indistinguishably, indiscriminately. Maybe you use some of those upper athletes as examples in certain cases. If you use it to your advantage, but I would say you gotta help everybody improve. It can maybe be more stressful as a college coach because your job is on the line for how well your athletes do. Certain coaches can probably be a little bit more ruthless than others. We had a very kind, generous, patient coach, Coach Corbin Talley, amazing, one of the best coaches I've ever had. But maybe almost to a flaw at some point, he was so kind, so generous, because, it's always a tough situation, but some athletes don't pan out. Some peak in high school, some don't have the work ethic to motivate themselves to be better. Some are just overwhelmed. Some people just straight up don't like school, and so they quit. They have amazing potential, and you hate to see those ones just quit school. It's tough. But it puts you in a tough position because you have to make that call about somebody's future. This could impact them. They could lose a scholarship. They could, become depressed, be saddened. You're changing someone's life. It's a tough decision to make. But, your own life is kind of in the whim of it too, where if you do bad, then you don't have a job. If you're an athlete, you do bad, then you don't have a job. It's kind of the similar situation for the coach and the athlete, and I'm just trying to keep that in mind as I'm working with these people. Luckily, I don't have to make the call about cutting someone from the team yet, but I rue that day because that is going to be tough for me. I have to look someone in the eye and say, you're not good enough. I don't know if I could do it, so I'm worried about that.
You bring up an interesting thing that I think needs to be explicitly said for some people. For being an athlete, it's pretty much tied to school. Like if you're going to do track, you're in high school. If you want to do track some more, you got to go to college. It's not like you just get done with high school and then you go join a track club and somehow make money from that. I mean, you can do that for the sake of the exercise and the entertainment of it, but to be clear, right, if you want to perform, if you want to have any kind of, I guess, track career in this case, you're going to college. You need to be tied to some kind of educational entity, right?
Basically, yeah, unless you were like thebomb.com in high school.
Go straight into like Olympic training is kind of the thing.
Right. If you were good enough to get sponsored and like private coach that wanted to coach you, which is 1 in a million point, you maybe don't have to go through school to do track and field. But really, to get a coach, quality coaches, without breaking the bank, you need to get a scholarship, and that's kind of tough because some kids, they want to go to a technical school, and track and field kind of draws them. It's that fork road. They have to make a decision. Are they going to change the rest of their future just to do track and field for a few years? I don't blame a lot of those people for quitting. It's sad, but I understand. Tough decisions. You have to take control of your life, and I wanted to do track and field. I honestly shouldn't have done 6 years, but I kept getting better, and school was like that little nuisance.
You gotta have your vegetables before you can have dessert.
But it is an unfortunate system a little bit that some of those people don't get to do track and field because it's tied to education.
Yeah, that really, for some, it really messes it up. Like that's the part. Those are the parts when I'm like fine with like athletes getting help in some way in college, whether it's scholarships and stuff like that. I'd make the conversation all damn day that should be for lots of people that are in the same, because the parts that make you say, oh, I want this athlete to be supported, is the same reason you'd say any other student would be. They don't have the money, they don't have the natural brains, at least they haven't been shown that they have it, such like that. So you're like, oh, I want them to be helped. And you'd say that whether he had a freaking finance degree, a football in his hand, or a paintbrush, you would say that about any of them. But that can be something that gets in the way for a lot of athletes, is that that's what they're good at. They are more or less like athletic machines. That's what they do. They want to do the thing. But if they need to do the school on the other side and that can't happen, oh, then it's a full bag. Bye-bye. You got to get rid of it.
Yeah. Just in 6 years, I've seen people just as good as me or better athletes who just quit because school. And they were great teammates. I loved them. They were friends. And so it's a sad time to see, you kind of have to say goodbye because, that's my life is this school, this job, this track and field. And if somebody's not a part of that, then, I not really seeing them again. All his friends were on the track team. My wife was on the track team. My life been molded by being on this track team.
Okay, so getting near the end-ish, and so you got like I haven't been too good. I mean, you're only the third interview this season, so I haven't been too good about rehashing some season one big questions I tend to do at the end. They're not that big or scary, really. The first one I'll bring back. You get to have one redo, Mr. Whitney, of any size. Super small, like, I would have made sure I had oatmeal every morning before meet because it made me feel good that day. Or I wouldn't have gone to Weber because this other school was interesting and I just didn't choose it. Anything big or small, is there any change you would have made in your life? And would you take that?
Dang, put me on the spot there.
And while you're thinking, I'll give you like the reasoning of why I asked this question because, none of us get to use the redo. As much as we might want to, you don't get it. I only pose this question for anyone who's at the same point as you who might be listening and go, hey, I also am in high school at some track-based school, or at least has some track and field involved, and I'm there. And I'm thinking about going to school. Or maybe I'm even in Utah and I'm considering something like Weber or whatever. And if your thing is like, I would have done this, and they're right about to do it, they might go, oh, I wonder what their opinion is on why did they love Weber? Why did they not love track? Why did they pick this finance thing or not the other? Anything to where they get to have the redo you can't have.
I feel like there's a few small things I might have done differently, but if I only get one, I don't think I choose anything really.
I gotta give you like 5. Give me a bunch or I don't want to do it. Don't get me excited.
Here's one. Here's one at least.
Okay.
And it kind of applies to a few different decisions I make. Don't always settle for the first option. Find out what's available. Do your research. Maybe experiment even a little bit if you can. I basically went with the first school who offered me a scholarship. I went with the first job who offered me a job. That's actually probably happened a few times. I applied to a bunch of jobs and I just accepted the very first one. And so I would just say the one thing I would change about my past is settling for the first option. I think, maybe you get excited or you're so anxious about this thing that, the first answer, I'm good, I'm sold. Know your worth, work for your worth, and don't settle for the first option. It's worked out for me, at least to a point. I can't really know what would have happened. But, that's the one thing I would change. I would change myself, I guess, to be maybe more wanting or more driven to explore the other options available.
That's a good answer. I like that. And so for the finale, it's not even that big because I get to do whatever you want. I always turn some time over to the guests, unfettered. I'm not asking any questions. This is your moment to either be on your soapbox to be inspiring, say something funny, or say nothing at all. Bring up a little story that you wish you got to talk about, but I just didn't prompt it out of you. You have a moment, 30 seconds, 30 minutes to talk in whatever fashion you'd like. What would you like to say, if anything at all?
I would like to say that don't set goals, right? Realistic goals as well. But I think within all of us, there is much more potential than we truly see. I really think everybody is capable of more than they believe. So don't set expectations too low. If you set a goal that's challenging, that for a fact may or may not happen, you're going to have to work for it to accomplish this. Don't be too disappointed if you don't accomplish that goal. As long as you work towards it, kind of going along with that, we are capable of more than we believe. So, throughout college, I kind of gradually improved. I did 15 different events. I didn't even know how to pole vault when I got to college. And I ended up being on the top 10 best pole vaulters in Weber State history. And
Whoa.
jumped 5 times to, being on the best ever, one of the top 10 best ever at Weber State. I never expected that. I have a lot of top 10 marks at Weber State, but one of the most proud ones I have is I'm third in the 110 hurdles, the third best time in Weber State history. I have sub 14 second time, which I thought was never possible. I never thought I could do that. I really counted myself out completely. My senior year, I'm experimenting. I tried a different start to the race, and I run 0.2 of a second PR that first attempt. And then from there, I nailed it down. I got better. And, one day I had the wind at my back, just a little bit of a blessing there. And I broke 14 seconds. I ran 13.91 seconds in the 110 hurdles. I never thought in my dreams that would be possible. I qualified for regionals. I was in the top 80 people in the NCAA. Blew my own expectations out of the water. So whether it's, a physical thing, a mental thing, a school thing, a job thing, let yourself surprise yourself.
That's a fun one. I haven't had that one on the show. That's cool.
Yeah.
Way to go, Mr. Original. Yes, if you feel like you've totally spent your story on our show today.
I think I've shared as much as I can. Yeah, it's been good.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for being on the show. It's good to boost numbers.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun. I love talking about that stuff. Sometimes I don't get to brag about myself enough.
Yeah, so you're like, whatever, track star, blah, blah, blah. No, it's good that some people who might be wanting to aspire to a certain level, in this case for a track, and they'd be like, oh, so how good is he? Top 3 at Weber. Okay. I'm glad you said the time for anyone else who's like, sub 14, and then their just brain is blown, and they're like, oh my God. Or they're like, nah, I'm sub 12.
Yeah, top 3 at Weber State history sounds like really good. But, 13.91 is good, and it's great for me. But it's not like a massively impressive time, I would say.
Well, it's good to say both for like the everyday person. Like if it was me who doesn't really remember track times anymore, I'd be like, oh, top 3? Fuck yeah, cool. And then some other person who does know track times are like, yeah, but what if your school sucks? What's the number?
Weber State's a little bit of a smaller school, still D1, long history, but, surprisingly, it's like every year there's like 20, 30 people who are getting new marks on that top 10 list. So marks just keep getting better.
We're getting more advanced as a species.
Maybe I'll just state, all my bests.
You know what? Do it. You said you don't get to talk about your top things all the time.
And, understand if I was any good. I'll just go down the list then. I wasn't extremely fast. 100 meters, best was 11.28. Long jump, 24.6. It was 7.44 in meters. Shot put, 13.05. That's about 42 feet, I think. High jump, I have 199 on my right leg and 198 off my left leg. That is 6'6" and about ½ inch. The 400 meters, I ran a 49 something.
That's the only one I know the numbers are any good at.
I only broke 50 seconds once, but proud I did it. Discus was like 40 meters. javelin, 40, 48 meters, something. I wasn't very good at the 1500. 1,000 meter, 244. My pole vault was 496, which is like 16-1. 400 hurdles, 52.8. That's about it.
52.8. You got all this shit in your way, and I'm still even. I mean, obviously college is different, but like I'm getting close to 56, and there's nothing in my way on a regular 400, whatever.
I love that race. I didn't love it. 400 hurdles is a beast, and like the hurdles give you a little bit of a distraction, but like the last 100 meters is hard to be distracted from. My ass.
It's funny. I think some people, when they look at a track, they go, "Yeah, I could run one lap. It'd be totally fine." When you sprint one lap, like full ass out, oh.
Yeah, if you don't fall down at the end, if you can stand up and walk around at the end, I feel like you didn't try hard enough.
One of those coaches just wants people to barf for that. Okay, you did good. You can take your break now.
At the meets, you don't do that.
We do that at home. You barf in your family's home. Well, without further ado, I thank you, Caleb, for being on the show, and I thank everyone for listening.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
For sure. Maybe
review you sometime.
Hey, you could. Also, episode 1 is me being interviewed in some way. It's more like I'm telling a story, but I'm always fine with being my questions asked. It's fun. I like to be. I want to be a guest. I want to be important.
Well, you are. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll see you guys later. Okay, bye. And with that very dramatic ending over, we wrap things up, and I'd like to say once again, thank you all for listening, and to Caleb for joining me. By sharing these stories, we hope to either inspire you onto this new path, shed light on how one may navigate the world of athletics, financial advising, and such, or in the very least, help show you that whatever directions you take, you're golden. No life is a straight line, so embrace all the weird and wonderful sidetracks you've taken, and probably will take in the future. If and when you decide to take on a new sidetrack, be sure to do your own research, ask around, reflect on what you hope to achieve, and remember your journey will be unique to Caleb's, even if you decide to pursue the same interests. In the end, this is a podcast of experiences, opinions, and open conversation, not a source of permanent truths. We'll end the show with a thank you to Kyle Tankersley for writing the song set as the intro and outro to this song, performed by Cranky Tank and the Fixers, copyright 2019. You know already that I like the song, so this is Avalon. See you all next time.